This is the completed exercise from Chapter 6. The idea behind Chapter 6 was to show you how you can bring together all the tools and commands that you've been practicing so that you can get a solution to a drawing problem. I'd like you to test your knowledge by completing this exercise. This exercise uses similar tools and commands that you will have used to complete Chapter 6. I'd like to show you a little bit about how to get started, but I'm not going to show you every step. This is a test yourself exercise, so if you're struggling, I'd like you to go back to chapters 1 to 5 and practice those things. And also go back to chapter 6 and practice it. I'm going to show you how to get started. We'll start with a brand new file. I'll set up my page. Before I get started, I'm going to change my layer scale. And I'm going to draw with metric dimensions. Let's start by creating our first piece of timber. So this piece of timber is 1560 long and it's 90 millimeters high. Click OK and we'll start here. Now remember, you can use your offset or your move by points tool. Move by points, we want a duplicate from there, we want to move that down 100 millimeters. And that gives us our starting point. So that's the first part of our table. We've got a 150 millimeter gap between here and the next part, so we could also use our move by points tool. Start there, we're going to come down 150 millimeters plus 90, and that'll give us our next part. We could create 3 or 4 duplicates, and we could start there and finish there, and that would give us the top of our table. These objects could easily be duplicated, or we could even mirror them. So that gives me the basis of my table. Let's try drawing the front elevation. I've gone back to my rectangle tool, just touch that point to line up, and this is minus 45 millimeters. And then I can snap to my existing part. The height difference between the tabletop and the table seat I know, so I can use this. I can set that back to one duplicate. So starting there and finishing minus 330 millimeters, enter once, enter again, and that's given me my seat. Now I need to have some legs down here, and if I draw the legs here, it'll help me to draw the plan part of it. I'm going to draw a temporary line to represent the ground. I know the distance there, so I can use my move command. That's minus 400 millimeters. That'll give me something that I can snap onto easily. I'm also going to use a temporary line for this part down here. I know that my legs are 150 or about 6 inches inset, so I can use my move command again, bring those in, and that's going to give me the opportunity now to draw a rectangle. It starts there, finishes up here, and it's 45 millimeters. If I send that to the back, then graphically it'll start to look correct. So I don't need that any longer. I don't need that any longer. I need a piece of timber in here to represent my cross brace, and I need some pieces in here as well. If I select those parts, I could mirror those to create the other end of the table. Just send them to the back so that they look graphically correct, and now I need a piece of timber that starts here and goes up to there and comes back down to there. So it's probably easier to draw this with lines. It's going to start at that corner there, it's going to come up to that corner, it's going to be offset by 90 millimeters. Which means that I also need a line across here. If we have a look at that, it's not looking too bad. I do need to create that piece there, and then I can use my trim tool to trim all those up. So I can trim that to there, that piece to there, this piece needs to be brought back to that point there. If I use a line from there to there, and a line from there to there, and across there as well, I should be able to select connected objects. So it's selected all the objects that are connected together, compose those together into a polygon, send them to the back, and all I need to do now is mirror that. My table's starting to look quite good. I need a side elevation. Line tool. Let's draw a 45-degree line, and then I can project some of these lines across project them down if I need to, or I can even do it without projecting. Let's start with a piece of timber. 90 millimeters, 45 millimeters, align with that point, touch this point, touch there, hit the G key to create a datum, and that's the start of my timber. Since I've got a regular number of those, 4 of them, click to start. You could select 2 of these rectangles, use your Move by Points tool, and copy them from that location to there. Use your mirror tool to duplicate them. Draw the rectangles for the timber underneath. And you could use the Object Info palette to control the length of those objects. You could chamfer the corners. We've got a rectangle in the middle, and don't forget you can change your mode to make it easier. So this is 45 divided by 2. And now all I need to do is to put my cross members in. We have an overall size we're working to. So the overall size of this part is 1223 divided by 2, and that's where I want my legs to finish. So I want the leg to start there, and I want it to finish there on the other side. Now you might find that slightly tricky, but you can use techniques like this where you can create the object, create the thickness for it, and then use your rotate tool to start at that corner there, choose that point and get that point pointing there. We can use our trim tool, close it. We could trim the top part of it away maybe, or I could just reshape it. Use the mirror tool again. Delete that guideline. So that's given me my elevation. What I do need to do is to project some of these lines up so that I can finish off my plan view. So with the rectangle tool, I could start in line with that, touch that point there, touch that top corner, and then line up with it there. Send it to the back, and do the same at this end. You could do the same at that end, but also you could use your Move by Points. From there, down to there, and send it to the back. And now your plan just needs dimensioning. So how did you get on? If you found that exercise a struggle, I advise you to go back to chapters 1 to 5 and repeat what we learned. Particularly chapter number 3, which a lot of people forget because it has all of the 2D drawing tools and commands in it. It goes through almost every tool on this basic tool palette. It goes through lots of the commands that you're going to need on a regular basis. So go back and have a look at those exercises. They're really important. And then practice these exercises. Thank you for watching. For the leader in Vectorworks training and manuals, visit learn.archroncad.com.